everyone, and welcome to episode 61 of the Rich Cheese Radio Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Schmidt, and as always, I'm joined by my good buddy. You guys know him, you love him, Bro Dinky. What's going on, bro?
Schmidt, I've had a day, brother.
Uh-oh.
It's been a long time coming. Haven't had one of those really really good days in a while. But it's been a good day, and it goes back probably yesterday. And I'm just gonna say I before I get into the watches and sports betting segment here. I think I need to go play the lottery. Okay, and
Uh-oh.
I'll walk you
Uh-oh.
through this. Right. So yesterday they had NFL games on yesterday, Saturday, and I'm watching, and the Colts are playing the Vikings. And Vikings going on 33-0 to the Colts, and I'm like, the Colts are god awful. I was like, what are the odds the Vikings come back and win halftime down 33-0? I go, put $5 on it. $5 to win 200. Vikings win in overtime.
Yeah.
Like everything perfect had to come into play for it to happen, but nailed
Yeah.
it. Right.
Yeah.
So create like funniest little $200 I ever won in my life.
Mm.
Today I roll in, right? It was our last Santa brunch today for the kiddies of my last big holiday for the year. So I'm stoked, right? It's going to be a good day as I just bang this out and I'll be done with that. So that's really great. World Cup finals on,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So while I'm working, they got the big screens on because they know the people want to see it. So they got the big screens on, right? And I'm like,
Yes.
I, the guys I work with have been big into wagering on the cup because a lot of them from South and Central America. It's their time of year where they're just like, this only happens once every 4 years, and we're gonna make the most of it. So they've been betting a lot, and I've been kind of enjoying it. So I'm like, all right, it's the final. What the hell? I'm like, how do I see this game panning out? I'm like, all right, well, Messi's got to get a goal. He's a legend.
Yeah.
Mbappe's got to get a goal. He's the man for France, right? I don't see either defense holding up 0 goals, right? So I'm like, all right, maybe it'll be 2-2 end of 90 minutes. And you know what? I think everybody loves drama. Why don't I pick somebody to win in penalties? Right. And just going based on the tournament so far, Argentina's goal has been really good for penalties. So I was like, all right, I'll go with Argentina. And so for the people who are listening to this and have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, in the wagering world, there's something called a parlay. And when you parlay things, you are taking all of their odds, combining them in some mathematical formula. They spit it back out, and it comes out multiplied because every single one of those things has to happen, or you do not win your bet.
Yep.
But if every single one does, you
You
can
win the
turn
super
a
bet.
small amount of money into a large amount of money.
Yep.
Right now, I decided I was going to put all those things together, and I guess for better, I managed to talk two other guys into riding with me on it because again, it was a small amount of money to win a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And these guys, one of them has had less than favorable luck going into the tournament. So he was like, I mean, at this point, what else
What
can I
else? What?
lose, right?
It's the last game to lose something on, right?
So I mean, with all the swings, all the drama, I mean, I nearly had a heart attack 6 times, but it hits, right?
Oh
So
my God.
I turn a small amount of money into a large amount of money. But these guys are stoked because I mean, this was more than a week's pay for them.
Yeah.
They're hyped. So I mean, again, I'm not going to be like, oh, I made so much money, but I made a good amount. I made a good amount today. It was a great day. I punched my ticket to the fantasy football next round just now with a couple Terry McLaurin grabs in the night game. So all in all, a great day. I went to a little Christmas get together. Really just smooth sailing. I'm waiting for the other foot to drop. To be honest, I'm like,
My luck
I,
has to turn,
I
right?
checked my roof. I was looking
Yeah.
for leaks. I was waiting for the other foot to drop today, and it really did. So really, just a great day, start to finish. How about you, sir?
Well, I don't bet at all, so obviously not as good as you, but things have been pretty good. Kids are anxiously waiting for Christmas. The elf on the shelf is in full force.
What do
Um,
you guys have a name for yours?
we didn't name it yet, but my daughter just like runs around the house like panicking, looking for where the elf is gonna be, and she's just like, "It's there. It's moved. It's live." I'm like, "Yeah, it is."
Yeah, everybody I know has a name for theirs. The guy I work with, his name is Donnie. after an elected official of recent.
I
um,
see. Okay, I got you. I got you.
ours is Buster. I don't know why we came up with Buster, but ours is Buster.
Okay,
Um,
I'm sure my daughter's gonna name it at some point. She just hasn't yet.
yeah, here you have to name it. So
And like,
get on that.
do you get like two for two kids, or do you just keep the same one and it watches both kids? Like,
Yeah, I think. Well, I think
what's
that's
the play on
it
that?
becomes a competition to find what the hell is the elf doing in the morning. You know, you got to keep your eyes
Mm,
peeled when you get out of bed
yeah. Okay.
because
All right.
sometimes he's hiding right outside the door. Other times you got to go hiding under the tree or in the
Yeah.
snack
Yeah.
cabinet or something. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
once put
got
him
you.
with not. This was before my kids were born, but my aunt was in town and she had my two little cousins and she had the elf and I put him on the table with a bunch of powdered sugar to roll up 20.
Oh God,
They didn't know what it was, but she was like, "Oh Jesus."
bro, come on.
gotta
I got you. I got you. That's
have
hilarious.
gotta have fun with the holidays, man.
Oh, dude, I know. I know. I feel more and more like Clark Griswold every single day, just like
Exactly.
trying to hold on to sanity. But it's all good fun. You know, it's the holidays are important. It's special. It's a great time. You know, they go by way too fast and back to the real world, but it's magical in the moment. So you got to enjoy it.
And it's funny when you said Clark Griswold just now, I just picture like whatever it's this time of year and something goes terribly wrong. I just for some reason the first thing I think of is him going over to the eggnog and just like hammering it into the glass. That's the first thing I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Or as I like to do it in my house, the rum nog.
Oh yeah. Well, you can do it with anything, I think.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just like,
Brandy, bourbon.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's never really just eggnog.
No, 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 it's not.
Nobody likes the taste of eggnog. There's definitely some booze in there. That's how you handle the holidays.
Yeah,
That's
and
how you
who
handle the
it
holidays.
makes for a great next day. A mix of pleasant mix of dairy and booze in the bowels.
This sounds like a great win. This sounds like a winning combination for sure. That's my take.
Yeah, I almost
But
think it might have been a prank to begin with, and then people were like, "I kind of like this," and they're like, "Damn, all right."
again, this is like, we're gonna take eggs and we're gonna make them into a frothy drink, and then we're gonna add booze to it. Maybe a little cinnamon, some fresh whipped cream. Call it a day.
And also speaking of holiday, I actually got out to the Red Bar New York holiday party on Monday. That was pretty awesome.
How'd it go?
Really good, really good. Big shouts to Kathleen and Greg, who's their chapter head, for inviting me out. We had a great time. I know Kathleen previously from what I've talked about on the pod, but
Yes,
yeah, but
yes.
turns out Greg and I commiserate over the same terrible sports teams, and
Well,
so
don't even get me started about my terrible sports team. Yes, today. So
yeah,
just
yeah, that was a whew.
I can't even. Yeah.
But it was cool. I saw some people I knew. I saw a couple of the wrist check pod guys minus Rashawn. I think he's away.
Okay.
I saw Jesse Mack. He plays in Motion City soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
You've seen him on Houdinki probably a bunch of times. He hangs out with Cole Pennington a lot. Anyway, that's always cool because I've spoken to him before, but also B, like I saw Motion City soundtrack at the Warp Tour when I was 19.
Yeah.
Like I still have, I think Time Turn Fragile is still on my playlist on Spotify. So that's, yeah, it's just cool to kind of like rub elbows with those people. A few other people we saw also that we know. Johnny Ferrer from Brew, he was giving away a watch in the raffle. That was cool. They did a little charity raffle. Um, there's a dude there who's like the like premier manga collector like of anybody. Like apparently they call him to buy their stuff. Like you
Really?
got that you got to be pretty badass to get a call from Longa, right? Like
It's like we
allegedly he
need
got
to we
everything.
need you to validate our own stuff.
I think they call him up and they're like, "Yeah, we got something new coming out. You want it?"
That's crazy.
So that was cool. I saw who else did I see? Um, Adam Moore, the photographer, was there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
He won an H Moser ugly Christmas sweater. It was hysterical. Like it's like bright red and blue. He put it on.
I could only
It
imagine what
was
what
really really funny
what the king of trolls in the watch industry
with the
created
huge
for
beard. It was really really funny.
created for an ugly sweater.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I just met a bunch of genuinely cool people, some of whom some people knew who I was. That was interesting. They were like, "Hey, I know you," and I'm like, "Do you know me, or do you think you know me?" Or and then they're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, yeah, no, no, we know you." I'm like, "All right, cool." That other people I was just talking to kind of as a normal human being, which I have no problem doing. I don't really boast about what I do or who I am
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
public, but I had a great time. There's some, passed around some mozzarella sticks and sliders. Had a few drinks. Got halal food on the way home, and the guy bombed me with hot sauce. So it is what it is. But at that hour in the morning, it all tastes good.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yes.
sure.
So really, really good time overall. Again, big shouts to them. Thanks for inviting me. And yeah, just a fun little trip to the city, little weeknight excursion. Although Monday nights are my night off, so that's fine.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. I guess we will get into our new drops for the week. We have some good, some bad, and some ugly, I think, from the looks of it,
That's putting it mildly for
to
sure.
say the least. I mean,
Oh.
I think going into this one, we were kind of like, all right. So we'll kick it off with some of the good. I think everybody was pretty surprised this week to see this drop from Zodiac, the Zodiac Super Seawolf left hand drive, Pro Dive GMT. Boy, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
But it's a pretty
Mike,
cool looking
Mike, you
watch.
got to change that, buddy. You got to change that.
I don't even know if we can come up with a super cool acronym for that. But
Mm,
anyways, really neat watch. I think everybody was kind of taken back by this, partly because it's a Destro and
yeah.
Destro is sort of in now, but this is kind of a stealthy dive GMT Destro. And somebody actually tagged, I think they were tagging you more than me, but
Yeah. Yeah.
having
Yeah.
mentioned so many times that you wanted a dive GMT,
I
they were
mean,
like,
yeah,
Schmitty, is this what you're looking for?
I mean, this is exactly what I'm looking for because I mean, I've said it so many times on the podcast before. You know, to have a GMT watch is great, but only if it's functional, right? And for me and all the people that I've sold watches to or the community that I've talked to and collected with for so many years, nobody uses a GMT bezel. It's just not something that I find a lot of people use. They might track two time zones, but no one's really tracking three. And the problem is, as soon as you rotate that bezel to a third time zone, unless you've memorized the position of all the numbers in your head, you point. You lose your reference point for where the 24-hour time is actually indicated. And so it can be very difficult to make those calculations mentally on the fly, especially if you're not used to doing it. So for me, the ultimate tool watch has always been a diver's timepiece with a diving bezel that's unidirectional with an internal 24-hour scale. That for me is my favorite type of GMT because it's functional, it's utilitarian, it has a purpose, and then it also has the added benefit of having the twin time complication. That to me is cool. But yeah, this is what I want. I just want it from my favorite brand, Omega. But it's hard to compete with something like this. This is a very cool looking watch.
Yeah, this really, I gotta say, this checks a lot of boxes of things we have talked about of late, right? Not only is it the Diver GMT, not only is it blacked out,
Mm-hmm.
it's a Destro.
Yep.
It it tech
I mean,
it's a lot of boxes checked here.
for me, this is kind of 2022 summed up in one watch,
Yeah,
right?
a bit.
Like it's LHD, right? Like you just said, we Rolex launched the LHD. It's the year of the GMT, as we have said so many times. We got a GMT. We've been talking about black having a moment, right?
Yep.
Black watches are coming back. Black watch, here you go. It's kind of just the culmination. And how many times have we brought up Zodiac on the podcast? This to me is kind of the
Yeah, they
2022
they
watch.
definitely had a resurgence this year. I mean, for if you were anywhere on social media, you saw it, right?
I mean, yeah,
And that's probably thanks to Mike. Mike, hey Mike, if you're listening, hi.
he's always listening.
Yeah.
Mike, I would love to get my hands on this one. Just saying. Just saying.
Uh, see if Santa puts it under your You're
There you
treating
go.
you're
There
treating
you
this.
go.
But yeah, I like the orange text. Kind of goes with the hand. Two complaints I've seen is that it has a lot of text.
Yeah, that's one for me. I will say that. But now I can overlook it. It's not the end of the world, but it is a lot of text.
And let me ask you if this one bothers you. No date
No, not at all.
doesn't really bother me either, but that seemed to be the big gripe in the comments section. Not that that's the be all end all by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like to kind of get the temperature of the room. I usually
Yeah.
go into the comments and poke
Look,
around a little bit.
I think for the vast majority of people out there that maybe not that are not typically watch people, a date on a watch really does make sense because it's a very practical thing to have.
Right, and you
Now
can
for
actually use it.
you can actually use it, right? Now for the vast majority of us that have been collecting watches for a long time, or the people out there that are date window Nazis when it comes to where the placement is, the coloring of the date disc, we've addressed this many times before. You know, it, having a no date just is a simpler way to do it. And for me, I think that this is a very simple reason why. It's just to make sure the watch is ultra legible. When you look at how much text there is, when you look at where the spacing for the GMT hand would fall, where are you going to put a date? It's going to obstruct something.
Yeah.
Whether you put it at 6 o'clock, you put it at 3 o'clock, you put it at 4:30, it's going to be some type of thing that's going to be visually off for the symmetry of the overall watch. And I think in this case, Zodiac just made a great decision to just leave it off because really, when you think about this watch, what you're looking at is the time, the secondary time, and its dive function. Right?
Right.
That is what's the most important. The date becomes irrelevant at that point.
And it looks like there is 50 pieces total being made of this. 25 were made available as of yesterday through James Porter in Scotland. And then another
Wow.
25 are being offered through Grimaldi in Italy.
It, this is a limited edition. Oh, it's for
Yeah, it's for
Huckberry.
Huckberry.
Ah, I gotcha. I did not know it was an LE.
Something
Bro.
tells me you may see a similar watch in the future to this. I don't think you go through all this to make a 50-piece LE
No, I know,
and
but
leave it
but
alone.
but I do know when it comes to the Huckberry stuff, like the orange and black is kind of like the color scheme,
Yeah,
you know? But that makes me sad because I love this color scheme.
right.
So if it's going to be an LE in this format, if we get another version,
Yeah, you're not getting the same
you're not going to
at
get the
all.
same.
No.
Although, if I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and if I could plug, hey Mike, if you're listening, give us this one with a pink hand. I'll take it all
That would
day.
be interesting. You know what I was thinking was,
Could you imagine hot pink?
yeah, I
Like
obviously
that would
could.
be so sick. I'm sorry, man. I am all on this pink train. It would be so sick to have this watch completely blacked out, pink pip, pink GMT hand, and some of the script in pink, and just leave it at that. I think that would be so cool, and I think it would be odd enough that people would find it interesting.
And just looking at it with the handset goes back to some of their vintage divers. I'm thinking go back to that powder blue bezel
Oh
and match the
yes,
GMT hand to it and the text, leave everything else black. The watch, even the case doesn't have to be black, but the dial should be a deep black. I think that
yeah.
would be pimp. I think they should do that.
There's so much potential with Zodiac, and
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 they could do the white dial too. They had that in the past as well.
yeah, and they're just there's so many hitters here, and I love it. I love the direction that the brand is going. You can tell that obviously the people that are the driving force behind the brand understand watch culture, understand collecting, understand the end consumer, and it's been reflective in the things that they are putting out. And I think that this is a very great example of something that is truly unique and special, and something that's going to be desirable for a lot of people. So I like it. I
Yeah, and
really do like it.
they come in at a price range that is sort of above the Seikos of the world, below the Tudors, below the even the more robust Zins now are above this. So this one specifically
Yeah.
is 22.95, but many of their watches fall beneath that.
Yeah.
So you're getting into an area that was a bit of a gray area.
I mean, this
I'll
was,
say
for many
quality
years.
wise,
Yeah, this was for many years like Oris territory.
right? So you're falling into that area where it was kind of only a few players that could really operate in there and provide a quality piece that matches the price.
Yeah.
Is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I mean they've definitely positioned themselves. I'll say that much. All
I
right,
love it.
number two is another limited edition Prospects SPB 333. It's a Save the Ocean, but it looks nothing like many of the other Save the Oceans. I mean, it has a bit of a wavy-ish style, not a wave dial, but a like so almost like a water surface dial or a sort of almost a birchy look to
Yeah,
it.
I mean, like this looks like a birch, but in some of the product photos too, I've seen like it looks like frozen ice. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah, I think
that
that's
maybe
what
that's the like glaciers or like frozen tundra type
they
inspiration. I
have
guess.
this in blue already. This dial,
Yeah.
but again, many of those other Save the Oceans are very, very colorful, or they have some very unique shades on them. This one is very muted. It's got a ghosted bezel. Really,
Hmm.
the only color on it at all is the second hand, which is a navy blue.
Yeah, it's like a blued steel color almost.
And so you got this white ice dial on it, and it's the slim case Willards that just came out. That's
Hmm.
the overall layout of the watch. I personally really like this reedition, though
I do
as a
too.
whole. As a
I do
whole,
too.
I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of the white dial with the black bezel looks really good. I think this
Hmm.
is a hit. It looks really good. It's a little more expensive than those ones. This one comes in around 13 hundo. Again,
Yeah. Yeah.
probably don't have to pay 13 hundo, but it's MSRP is 13 hundo, and I think they're 5,000 piece LE.
I like it, man. I really do like it. Again, it's an LE 5,000 pieces.
Right. Take that
So
how you
it's
will.
like, yeah, I mean, yeah, take it for what you will. But I mean, this is a very cool watch. I like the dial texture. I think it's very cool. You don't see a lot of watches that have like a ghosted, gray tone bezel.
Now,
I like it. I
people
mean,
try to
it's
do that themselves.
yeah, I mean, exactly. Like the aggressive patina is there, certainly. Um, but I like this, especially when you think about the original ones would have been very opposite of colorway to this, like black on black.
Yes.
Like this is just a very cool tone. I like that it is a Save the Ocean watch. You guys know how I feel about ocean conservation and diving, things like that. It's very important to me. But this is a cool watch. I like the little pop of color with the second hand. And if I would get one. I would get one. I think the photos look really good. It's very handsome looking,
Did
and
you
it's
get
different
a
enough.
Did you get a second to see this fabric strap that it comes with?
Yeah, it's like a woven.
It's neat.
It's a woven material, and Seiko's been doing a lot more of these NATO straps on their Willards and other type of like Prospex line models, and I like them. It's kind of like it doesn't look like a seatbelt type NATO, but it has like a more aggressive like texture to it because of the way they weave the nylon, but it looks really sick.
Yeah, so it's got alternating stripes of a dark gray that almost matches the bezel, and then it's just peppered in the other stripes with light and kind of a medium tone gray. So you get like it's almost like when snowflakes fall from the sky, where you get like different colored ones, even though they're all sort of the
Mm-hmm.
same color. It's a really neat effect, and
Yeah,
I think this
and
look really good. I would really like to see this in person.
I guess so. Would you call it like a basket weave? Is kind of
Yeah,
like the way that
I'm not up on my I didn't pay attention to home ec, so I don't know my
I
weaving or
I
my
mean to me
sewing
this looks
patterns.
kind of like a like a basket, right? Like
Yeah,
if you have like a wicker basket
yeah,
and
it
it's
does look
woven
like that.
together, it's kind of like the NATO pattern, especially how they do the striping, kind of mimics that pattern. So I would probably the best way I would describe it, like a basket weaving
Okay, I like
texture.
it.
So there you go. Maybe that's a Seiko basket weave NATO strap. There you go. Tell your friends.
And from here, we are just going to start descending into the abyss. This one is sort of on both sides of the fence. This is the H. Moser uh, Endeavor Center Seconds Genesis watch. I'm sure you've all seen it.
Mm,
It's a watch that appears to be pixelated, and it's
yeah.
a QR code dial, and you scan it, and it takes you into the Web 3.0 realm. They
Yay.
Moser being Moser, they gave it a secondary name that is written out in binary, of course. So ones and zeros. That's the computer language that basically how the computer reads, more or less.
Yeah.
And so this is a neat little 40 millimeter micro blasted steel case, in case you were wondering. Um,
And it's if I remember correctly, this was it 3D printed?
yes, that's what I was just looking at, and it's got some Vanta Black, which is also kind of neat, as I've
Yeah,
spoken about before. But yeah, but however, they are also enabling that they're
I know.
trolling clearly, but they're also enabling with this QR nonsense, right? We've seen it on Bulgari,
Yep.
right? We've
Yep.
seen it on somebody else recently, and now I've seen it here. And
I mean, do you remember? I mean, I was old enough to remember when QR codes were basically non-existent
yes,
before a pandemic made them like the thing to be again. Like nobody cared about QR codes before COVID. And then all of a sudden COVID happens and everything goes to scannables and QR codes and everything like that. And all of a sudden now we're putting them on watches, especially watches that cost a lot of money. And you said it right. They are freaking enabling. I hate this. I usually love what Moser does. And again, I know that this is a troll. I know that this is obviously a poignant timepiece. It's to make a statement. I get that. But this statement for me just falls flat. It's the same way that the Bulgari did as well. I just think it's ugly. It might be cool for this moment right now, 2022, but come 2023, 2024, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, we're going to look back and like, what the hell were we thinking? Why did I spend money on this? Who's going to buy this? Why did we make it? It seems so out of place. And in a world that honestly, when you think about this from an abstract point of view, the whole reason why I'm so against the QR codes and all this stuff is because it's literally the antithesis of why watches are around. You're trying to merge futuristic technologies with something that was designed with antiquated
looks
principles
like
and
a
mechanics.
rudimentary tool.
Exactly. So it's like these things are completely juxtaposed to one another. And so the idea is like, well, let's look to the future while making something that's made in the past. And
Which
it
I get
doesn't
it. I get that's
doesn't
supposed to
make
be like sort of
sense.
the rub. I just don't like it.
No, it's stupid. I think no. Sorry, Moser. I love you guys. You missed out on this one.
Yeah, I was
It's
really
just
hoping I was going to
hideous.
win your ugly Christmas sweater, but I did not.
Mr. Malin, back to the drawing board.
And in case you did want one of these, it is a limited run of 50 pieces at approximately
There you go.
29,180 US dollars.
There you go.
And just when I saw the name
Garbage.
of it,
Absolute garbage.
when I saw the name was Genesis and the fact that it had a QR code and everything,
I
all
was
I
like,
could
please
think
don't
of
let there be
was
more.
no, all I could think of was the I don't know if you saw the final installment of Terminator
No.
Genesis, where basically like the iPhone operating platform that's going to be upgraded called Genesis basically enables the robots to take over the world.
Oh God.
That's all I could think of. And I was like, yeah, Moser would do that. So sure.
Yeah, so let's just assure our mutual destruction
Yeah,
right here,
that's
right
exactly
now with
it.
a Genesis watch
That is
that
exactly.
lets the the robots take over the world and enslave the human race. It's fine. We're all here for it, I guess.
Yeah. And now a watch
Oh,
so cringe that nobody's going to remember we even talked about the Moser. So I'm running through my feed and I see this
oh,
watch and the overall layout of the watch initially is kind of neat. I'm like, what is this? What's going on here? I see kind of a dial with some cutouts on it, and I'm looking at it and I see, all right, it's a looks like it's a turbine watch. So it's akin to almost if you know the Mad One where you flick your wrist and the turbine goes around and you kind of get a better view at it. This one is sort of like that, except in this case the dial's turning and those slits will almost act like those old time movies where you turn the
yep.
crank and you can see an image behind it. However, the image here is hentai porn. What?
My God, I just can't. Apparently, 2022 is the year of the troll watch as well, and we didn't even know that. But yeah,
So this is
what
made by
is right?
Parallel is the name, or is it
I think
Parallel?
it's
I don't
yeah,
know.
I think it's Parlay. Yeah,
Anyway, it's
but
made by
they're
this
but they're
company.
known for these turbine watches. I had a buddy of mine that owned one for many years, and it's a cool like novelty, right? If you're like into fidget spinners and that kind of thing, like just flicking your wrist is like, whoosh, you feel that kind of like that swinging momentum. So if you hate wearing like a 7750 or some type of like free spinning rotor, like a Miyota movement or something like that, like it's gonna drive you nuts because that's literally how the watch functions all the time. You're gonna feel it moving. Um, but this watch is so odd to me because it's not odd in the sense it's like it's an erotic watch because we've seen that so many times, right?
All right,
Blancpain has done it. Um,
Elise.
Ulysse Nardon has done it. Who else did it? RM has done it,
Yeah.
right? Like this is not a new novelty, but nobody, I repeat, nobody has leaned into anime hentai porn. And this is not ever something that I thought I would ever speak about on our
Nope.
podcast.
Nope.
But here we are in 2022, the year of the trolls. I mean, like, I can't even imagine how this discussion passed the cutting room floor. Like, how did product development be like, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do for the final touch of 2022? You flip the presentation, and there it is, Japanese hentai porn. Did you see this coming?
They must have been so baked in this meeting.
I mean, like, I
All
don't
right. So
even.
for those of you that are at work and aren't gonna Google this because you'll get fired, I'm
Yeah, not
looking at
safe for it's not safe for work.
a few different dial variations. We got one with two women on it. One is in a sort of a bikini, and the other one is topless.
Yep,
Uh,
exposed.
yeah, I've got another one with a female, and it's a view from the rear, and she's bent over.
Yep,
I've got another one with a gentleman who appears to be somewhat of like a Super Saiyan hair wise, with red hair to match the red second hand, and he is taking a young lady from behind.
yep.
And then I have two more women. One is facing you, one is facing away from you, and you can kind of just see everything. And that's what we're looking at. That's where we are at in
Yep.
almost 2023 here.
Yeah. I just I have no words. I never thought this would be the thing. And it's so crazy when you look at the dial. The dial says Parallel 1777. Apparently, this brand has been around almost as long as America has been a country.
Yeah,
And this is where we are in 2022.
I mean, I think it's an appropriate parallel at this point.
Everything's going to crap. Oh, I
I
can't. I can't.
looking at this watch, all I could think of was the guy in Billy Madison after he gives the long speech about the puppy who lost his way. Where he's like, "I award you no points, and everybody is now dumber for having put up with this." I That is how I feel looking at this.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget the box also has your image depicted on the inside of the
Oh, in
box
case you
itself.
couldn't get enough.
In case you couldn't get enough, now you get a full frontal view without the turbine spinning of the actual box itself. So there you go. Make sure you present this one to your loved ones and wrap it nicely for them under the Christmas tree.
Yeah, this is like if you're trying to get your wife to leave you, watch. Because it also costs $6,100.
Yeah. It's just like mega cringe. Mega, mega, mega cringe.
Okay. Speaking of gifts under the tree, I'll use
Nice
that as my
segue. Nice
segue. Thank you.
segue, bro.
Thank you. I pride myself on trying to really
you
make some
know,
good jumps here. And also in conjunction with my I don't know if everybody kind of got it. It was I put up a gift guide the other day. It was supposed to be humorous. It was a lot of the components in it were from like American Psycho. and even the watch. I know we've joked that it was a Seiko in the movie,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that it's depicting a two tone Rolex, but the watch I had sort of picked out of the inventory of Bezel's inventory that I was kind of making the post with was an
Mm-hmm.
oyster quartz, because I think the oyster quartz is neat. And so it was kind of like a kind of a little jab at the finance bro, right? It's got
Yeah.
the checkered shirt, it's got the blue vest that every single one of them has. Rich dad, poor dad. Anyways, that's sort of the theme, right? Everybody this year's got a gift guide. Some of them are more serious than others, I guess you'd say. But I find a lot of them have kind of the same stuff. It's always like, oh, why don't you get yourself a piece of art? Why don't you get yourself? And a lot of these things are expensive, and a lot of these things are a bit impractical. So I was thinking, we as watch nerds and or people who need to buy for watch nerds, I think we could focus a little more and get down to some suggestions that people might actually really enjoy, because a lot of these things are very subjective, right? It's
Yeah,
hard to
absolutely.
buy a watch for somebody specifically because you don't know their taste. So unless they've been lusting after something, and then it also has to be, I mean, a reasonable price, right?
Yeah.
A normie is certainly not spending watch person money on a watch, right? Even a more entry level watch is still expensive, right? I bought that turtle for $600 the first go around, and I nearly had a heart
Yeah.
attack. I remember that, and I definitely think that still exists
Oh yeah, for sure.
for people outside of the desensitization zone of spending that we live in. So I had asked you, to kind of brainstorm on this, and I have my own stuff, and we'll kind of go back and forth. This is sort of akin to we did a little kind of gear episode, but in this case, I have a few different sort of tweaks that I wanted to talk about. But
Yeah.
when I think about buying things for gifts for people, or when people ask me what I want, I try to remember throughout the year all the things that I don't want to spend my own money on, because at this stage of the game, we're responsible adults. We have careers, or at least jobs,
Yep.
and you can probably buy whatever you want, right? And
Yep.
if we're giving friend gifts, I'm probably not buying you something that's beyond that. So I try to think, what do I want, but I don't want to spend my own money on it. I think those are the best gifts, because
Yeah.
people are like, you know what? Yes. Okay. Now we're talking. So I'll go first, I guess.
Sure.
One thing that I always kind of lust after when I get a watch is when you buy a watch and you have to buy it in a specific configuration. So you either have to buy bracelet, NATO, leather, and they don't give you the option to take to sometimes you'll get more than one, right? Like you used to buy the Speedy, it used to come with the bracelet and the NATO
Yeah.
and the Velcro in the big box,
Yeah, that's right.
right? A lot of times, more often than not, you're not getting those options. I mean, you get them more with micro brands and people who are trying to provide value on that end, but you're not getting that a lot. For me, a really nice OEM strap that normally comes with the watch. So if it might be integrated, it might be, a funny lug width like a 21 or something. But the person's like, okay, I'm going to buy it on the bracelet because I can always switch to a strap,
Yeah.
some kind. Well, you know what? If it comes with, I like, I'll think of my buddy used to own the Zenith Defy, kind of the plain Jane one. That one also comes with an integrated leather strap that looks pretty neat on it. It's like a croc, I think.
Yeah.
Like if I own that watch, that would be a really cool addition for me if somebody gave that to me, because I don't want to spend my own money on that, but I would want it because I already own the watch and I would like to be able to wear it in its different configurations that it's supposed to come in from the factory.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, I thought that was a really good one. Like I really try to kind of rack my brain in terms of, like, as a watch person, there's so much garbage out there, and there's so many like gimmicky things. I don't want the gimmicky things.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that
I've
for
probably
sure.
already bought enough gimmicky things.
Well, I mean, it's like we've touched on this before. It's like you go through this learning process where you think you need everything all at once,
Yes.
and all of a sudden you start to realize like I don't need these things anymore, or I can pare down, or I can I should have bought this instead. There's always a little bit of regret when it comes to kind of blindly doing stuff, especially if you're shopping on the internet. Um, so no, I think that's a great option. I have something completely different in my pick. So the first one's kind of a weird thing because it was not designed for watches literally at all.
Interesting.
But I came across it. I think it was actually covered on Fratello at one point. But I came across it in kind of a nifty way to repurpose it for a watch person. And this is a piece of furniture.
It's not
Um,
hentai.
it, it's definitely not hentai.
Oh,
It's called the
damn.
Elloven, and it's Elloven. It's made by IKEA, so it's an IKEA product. It's $34.99 US, and essentially what this is a monitor stand for your computer, right?
Okay.
Now, I'm not buying this because I want to give the watch collection of my life a monitor stand, but for me, the reason I like this is because it's an elevated thing that I can actually place a watch box on top of. And then you have a pull-out drawer that you could store straps or pins or some type of memorabilia
Okay.
that coincides with the watch. And the way it's designed is you could actually store things underneath the drawer as well. So it's a very inexpensive thing that I think adds to kind of the overall aesthetic of a watch collector's space, but it gives you purpose because you could put something like a watch box on top of it and still have all the extra usage and utility of putting straps and spring bar tools and everything organized in a neat way, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, so this is a very functional idea. And I think it lends to the organizational end that all of us sort of strive for as watch people, but none of us can
Yes.
attain.
Yes.
Like if I tilt my camera just slightly, you can see the abyss of different straps and things that I own.
Oh yeah.
In
I
and
mean, I'm the same way. I'm the
it's
same
in a
way.
Tupperware. It's a sizable Tupperware with a locking lid, but it's in a Tupperware. And every once in a while, I just have to go diving into it, sort of like Scrooge McDuck in his pool
diving
of
into the
money.
diving
Except
into
it's
your
money I've
pool of gold
spent and not
bricks.
not money that I own anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's something that we as watch folk sort of strive for. And I think I've seen some people who are just OCD about it and are super organized, and they all also probably like this. But for us that are less organized or sometimes just like to toss things in the junk drawer, this would be a nice option.
It's just a way to put stuff away. It's always what my wife is telling me, like, you got to put stuff away. And I try to keep, my watch space as organized as possible. And this is just cool. I mean, like, it's a cool thing to have as like a desk stand for your monitor if your watch stuff is at your desk too. But it's just a nice way to keep everything tidy. And again, I think it looks really cool with a watch box on top of it.
So I will also go with something that is not, you can't wear it, let's just say,
Okay.
but it's something that I own. It's something that's very valuable that I know a lot of collectors have, and probably some haven't experienced. But either way, it's a consumable, so you do go through it. Polywatch,
Mm.
for anybody with a Hezolite crystal, the Hezi boys out there, the acrylic gang, right? For those who don't know, Polywatch is, it's, how would you describe the texture of it? It's not, is it a gel?
It's not quite a gel.
But
It's
it's like
it's
it's
it, it's
abrasive.
yeah. It's like a. It almost looks like a certain bodily fluid is kind of the best way I think I can place it, and it has a slight grittiness to it.
It kind of reminds me of the toothpaste with the tiny little specks in it.
Yeah, exactly. But there's no color to the specs, right?
Right.
And it's a mild abrasive. It's designed to polish crystals.
And so it's great for if you have a newer watch and you need to get some shallow nicks out of there. If you have an older watch with maybe some deeper stuff, you can also enhance this with some fine grit sandpapers because you're gonna have to take some layers off to get those really deep scratches out. So
Yeah,
you're gonna need some of that. And then you're going to need some painter's tape because you got to tape up your bezels and your little anywhere around the crystal because that abrasive is going to get in there if you don't, and can only cause problems if it gets wedged in places. So
sure.
tape up your bezels, tape up your areas around the crystal where wherever it might get into. And also, that painter's tape comes in handy when you got to, if you're a klutz like I am, and you change straps like an ogre, you can always tape your lugs.
Yep. There you go.
So
There you go.
I know I've used this stuff before. It really, really does work. And if you watch some video tutorials on kind of how to do it and what pressure to apply, you get a better feel for it. And it will really take, a fairly beat up crystal and make it look really, really good again.
Yeah. Yeah, it can. It certainly can. I mean, I've done it. I've done it so many times on moon watches. I can't even count. Have you ever heard about there being a limit to the amount that you can polish a moonwatch crystal or like a Hesalite crystal?
Hmm.
Because I keep hearing that it's like three times. Like you're supposed to be able to, I was like, that's no
I don't
way
think
that
so.
can't
They're
be that.
pretty thick.
Yeah. That's I'm like, okay, guys, like
The only thing I would really worry
maybe
about
maybe
is an
like if you're
engraved
polishing,
crystal.
well, but the engraving is typically underneath.
I know, but I'm wondering how I don't know how far underneath it is. That's the only thing I would worry about.
I mean, I'm looking at mine. It's like it's in there, you know?
I figure it's got to be down there, but I don't know. I don't know if you could reach it by.
I mean, maybe, but I can't imagine Polywatch is really going to do that.
No, no. But I mean, if you just keep doing it forever, like if I,
Well, I mean, I think if you took it to like a polishing wheel, right, with some type of
yeah,
abrasive grit or something like you're saying, like sanding it.
yeah. But I mean, like I use, I sharpen my own knives, and over time, you do wear away the knife eventually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
But I mean, it's not going to be three times, right? Like,
no,
there's no
definitely not
way.
three.
There's
I'd
no
say no
way.
way, no way. Three could be it.
They're like, yeah. I mean, and I've heard it more than once from
Yeah.
people
So
that I'm just kind of like, okay, like somebody's saying this. Why are you saying this? But nobody's giving me an answer. Anyway,
big if
so
true.
yours is kind of like a little kit. So it's polywatch, painter's tape, and some sandpaper. Yeah,
Some I think it's like 2000 grit sandpaper or something, like some real fine stuff, because everybody's like, oh my god, sandpaper, what are you gonna do? And it's like,
yeah.
no, no, it actually smooths out.
Guys, we're not using 60 grit. Okay.
Yeah, this isn't a belt sander.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It
We're not
almost, you can run
removing
your
a
fingers
lot of
over it, and
material.
you can run your fingers over it, and it doesn't even really scratch your finger. That's how
Yeah,
fine it is.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool. So the sandpaper kit, I like that. And that's a nice budget friendly alternative too,
right.
because like
Again,
Polywatch is what, like $10 on Amazon. Some sandpaper's not too expensive. Painter tape's not that bad either.
right, especially if you're doing the stupid Secret Santa, or you have the friendly limit on your gifts,
Yeah,
right? You could
yeah.
squeeze it under the bar.
I like it. I like it. All right. So my next pick is something that's a little bit different as well. This is from a company called The Orange Hand. Now, for those of you that may be like big Rolex collectors, you may be familiar with this company. They're based in Europe somewhere. I've ordered from them before, but they make a bunch of kind of like novelty things for watch collectors. So if you just take a gander at their website, they have a few different things. Um, and kind of their big thing, I think what got them started was they make metallized versions of popular watch hour hands as like key rings. So like that's something that would be a very cool gift to give somebody. They make like a rubberized version, they make a
Okay.
metallized version, and it's cool. Like you have like the Rolex Mercedes hand and this, the Omega Seamaster kind of skeletonized hand. There's a Planet Ocean one as well. So it's kind of like popular designs, right? So that's one thing that's very cool that you could get somebody. It's a simple key ring. It's obviously something that showcases that you know enough about them that they are a watch collector. I don't know the conversion rate between euros and dollars, but it's basically 39 euros. So you can imagine I would what say like $50 US probably, or somewhere around there. But still readily accessible, and certainly very cool. Each one of these things are limited editions. They only produce 500 of each one of the little hands. So I'm definitely thinking about getting one for myself. But in addition to that, one of the things that I really like that the Orange Hand does is if you have somebody that's also a cigar aficionado, they make
I'm
very
listening.
cool cigar ashtrays. And that's the main thing I wanted to talk about. So they have a few different ones. They're glass, and this is actually what I ordered for a friend of mine, and he's a big Speedmaster collector. So I ordered him an ashtray that's made in the crystal, the glass material, and it has superimposed underneath it, it says Tintin, and it has the red and white checkering from like the Tintin Speedmaster. They do one for the Ultraman. There's one for the Captain Willard. There's ones for Rolex models. You know, the orange hand is kind of their signature. So they do the GMT hand, the snowflake hand. There's a bunch of different options, and they're all reasonably priced. So I think I paid around $70. It's listed at 59 euro. So I think I paid around $70 with shipping and everything from Europe. But extremely nice quality, very weighted, comes in a nice wooden box. This would be something that would be very cool to give to somebody because it's very thoughtful. It's mixing two distinctive hobbies: somebody that loves smoking cigars, but is also a watch collector because those things do go hand in hand. But it's something that they're like Houdinki hasn't covered this. They're not going to find this on something that is typical. It's a little bit off the beaten path, and I think while still being very price accessible, it would be a great gift for any collector.
And when you said that they had a lot of popular imagery from popular watches, I was thinking to myself, man, I really hope they have the Speedmaster phallus, and they do.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, very well done.
I
Bravo.
mean, how could you not? And it does say Ultraman underneath
Yeah,
it, right? So
it
that's
does.
even cooler.
Yeah, there's a Captain Willard. They have some depth ratings from in popular fonts that you've seen. Yeah, some really neat hands on them, right? You got the orange
Yeah,
hand
the
from
orange hand,
Rolex,
right? The
right?
GMT.
Mercedes hand. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. And yeah, if you got somebody with a crossover hobby like this, I'd be down for one of these. That's pretty awesome.
Have you seen this before?
I have not. This is the
Yeah,
first
it's
time I've
it's
seen it.
it's cool. Yeah. They do some cool stuff. I was pleasantly surprised. And like I said, when you order something sight unseen from like another country, it's like this is either gonna be really awesome or a complete scam.
Oh yeah.
And it was a little touch and go because I just had to wait for like my emails and there was kind of like broken English in it. And I was like, oh no, please don't be. And it was totally fine. You just might not get a tracking number, but it will eventually arrive. And it was nicely packaged. It was super cool. They put a handwritten note in there, so it was very cool and small company. So I was all about it.
Do you see the product photo at the top of the cigar ashtray page?
Uh-uh.
There's so it's got a cigar unlit in an ashtray, and there's a watch, but then there's a sort of like a Zippo style lighter. it's
Yeah.
it's engraved Vietnam, and on it just says Bong Sun.
See that 66 to
I
67.
feel like it's a very I feel like it's supposed to be authentic. It's just a little subliminal.
Yeah. There was a lot
Hilarious.
of bongs being lit in Vietnam, I'm
Well,
sure, during the war.
oh, all right. Back to me. Um, I guess I'll drop these two together because they're kind of bleak on their own. But when I think of fun little trinkets regarding watches that I want and I really don't want to buy, a good little UV light always comes to mind. Right?
100%.
Everybody wants a good loom shot. Everybody wants to check out, you charge up a watch, whether you get it new or sometimes I'm just sitting around. I'm like, hey, let me blast this thing.
Yep.
It's just a fun little thing you could do. They also now I either want a good one that I will keep at home or get me a little inexpensive one that I could throw on a key ring. And then, if you're a big wrist shot person, you're out and about, you can just charge the thing up on the spot, take a really cool wristy. I always think that's a nice little thing. Something else that I'm also very much about that I've spoken about before on here is the spring bar tweezer. You don't have to get the $700 one. They make I think they make one that's like $75. That's like not gonna break on you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not the eBay special, but
It's not the one that I got that's like
it's also not the I don't think
super
at the
dangerous and super
Bergeron.
sketchy.
Yeah, that's gonna be I think $150. So this one I think is 75, and you can get it. And it actually works. I've given this one as a gift to a few people, so I know it works, and it's something they were like, man, I've always wanted this because it's gonna help me not mess up my watches and also do things easily. But also, I do not want to buy this, and I totally get it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's a great gift for anybody, really, especially the new tweezers. Because like I had spring bar tool on mine as well. I had the Bergeron tool, just the standard one that we talked about before. But since you covered the spring bar tweezers, that's a great option as well. That to me supersedes what I have. But if you're a fan of the old school way, there's also great versions to get on Amazon. We'll make sure everything's linked in and discussed in the show notes as well. But for me, next thing that I have is a print. Actually, I think a lot of watch collectors like watches. They like things that are unique and special. And for me, there's a company out there that I've been following for a long time called 937. So it's spelled out Nine and then the number 37. This is a small print shop that does watch prints exclusively. They've done a few different things over the years. You've seen them featured on social media before. And you can even do a custom print through this person. So you have an artist here. He's done popular prints for things like Rolex models and Patek models, Omega, things like that. Some cool different novelty things over the years, and the prints on average are about $40, but you can actually have a custom one manufactured or made for you with whatever you want for about 100. So I think it's a very cool accessory. What better way to give the watch person in your life a gift of their own watch, but in a digitalized form that they can frame and hang in their office or their man cave or whatever it might be. It's a simple gift, very easy, and it's very cool. You know,
Yeah,
show off your watch pride.
if you've seen bad art nice watch, this is kind of nice art nice watch.
Yeah,
Although they do have one really cool they have two. It's the Seiko alternating English kanji date wheel. They have it in white and black. That one's pretty neat.
yeah. The guy does some cool stuff.
Yeah.
He does some cool stuff for sure.
Yeah, and then he's got some like macro stuff going on, like some date windows, or he's got the Snoopy in space complication.
Yeah,
He made
exactly.
a color wheel of all the new OP colors.
Yep.
Uh, yeah,
And if you
yeah,
keep scrolling down, there's like different like actual models. Like there's a Pogue, Turtle, Zimby,
yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Zimbabwe turtle is very obscure.
Yeah, it's I mean, but I think this is also stuff that he's made for other people,
Yeah, yeah,
and he just
I
like
get that.
has the files now. So like, why not sell it? You know. But a lot of these things I think were made as like requests. Like somebody asked for an orange samurai. Like that's a cool thing. So they can sell like there's a Doxa sub 300 on there. Like that's cool. Like I would love to have that. A Speedmaster, Diver 300 meter. Like there's just cool stuff in here. And again, for $100 for them to do a cool print, like to me, it's a no brainer.
Yeah, they look really well done. So I can get behind this. Like, they literally have everything. They have like IWC. They have wow,
And he's been doing stuff for several years now, for sure.
very cool, very cool. One that I thought of that was sort of outside of the box. I'm thinking of watches. I'm thinking of things I don't want to pay for, but that I will need. And this probably isn't going to apply to your more complex or more high end watches. But when I think of my beloved $800 Seiko or vintage watch that maybe doesn't cost a crazy amount, but I like a lot, I don't want to pay for a service,
Yeah.
right? But if
Yeah.
somebody gifts me a service, that would be pretty sick, right? And I know it's going to be more for more complicated watches, right? Your chronographs and things are going to be more money. But if somebody's got like a basic three hander that they need worked on, kind of like you do,
Mm-hmm.
like it takes a while to get around to sometimes, right? Well,
Yeah.
if somebody was like, "Hey, I spoke with whoever, you're going to ship it to them. I got it, and you're going to get your watch in tip top running shape again." I don't know. I don't know many watch gifts better than that. If I can
Yeah.
be frank.
Continual maintenance is very important.
Yeah.
I mean, like my poor diver 65, she is hanging on by a little thread. So Oris, I love you. Please help me. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, I mean, service is a fantastic gift. I mean, again, this is a very well thought out one. It's something that, sometimes when it comes to service work, we don't want to always bite the bullet. But it's nice to know that maybe in some way that we could arrange for this to happen, or we could give somebody the ability to have their watch worked on, and it'd be covered. Because that way that allows the watch person in your life to continually maintain their timepiece and wear for that many more years. That to me, I think would be very special.
I think so too.
How many more do you got, bro?
I think one.
Okay, so I got this one here, um, and this will be my final one. But I can't not have a watch holiday guide without something that kind of throws it back to the podcast a little bit. And for me, in speaking about the challenge of giving somebody a watch, one thing you could get them that would make sense, especially if they listen to this podcast, is one of our favorite timepieces that Bro and I both collectively have, and that is the G-Shock GA2100, also called the Virtual World Casio. And this watch under $100 on most of the retail places. If you have a person that loves listening to our podcast that you want to get something that's really cool and special, get them the Cheesy Oak. Right? It's one of the coolest G Shocks out there with the Casio design. In my opinion, I just love the colors. It's completely pure coincidence that it happens to match our kind of podcast colors. And I think it's a really simple timepiece that is really cool to have in the collection. And who doesn't love a G Shock? It's a very cool watch.
Yeah, I immediately saw it. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna snag two of these and call it a day. But
And I'm glad you did. It's one of my favorite watches.
yeah, it's a neat little package. It's got a bunch of little colorful tidbits on it in sort of your traditional black Casio type of layout. Fun watch overall. Great beater, great kind of knock around watch. Wear it with anything. Can't miss.
I love it. I love it.
Last on my list is sort of a like an I don't really know what to get this person. You're gonna have to know a little bit about their collection to hit this one on the head, because you're gonna have to know if they own some of the stuff already. Although there are plenty of variants on it, and so when I think of owning watches, especially if it's for somebody who's sort of just getting in or hasn't really ventured out too much beyond sort of the OEM ways to wear their watch, I'm thinking like a go to, almost like a NATO pack. So I think
Mm.
like something in like a sage NATO can't go wrong. Gray, a sand,
Oh yeah.
maybe a black.
Yeah.
Um, and if it's somebody who has sort of some of the traditional stuff, maybe you get some RAF style, right? Some single pass or some military stuff like Haviston or something,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? You can always change it up a little. It doesn't have to be so carbon, cookie cutter, carbon copy or anything. There's like all different patterns on NATOs now, right? You have your sort of the honeycomb NATO, you have the crosshatch, that military style NATO, you have
Mm-hmm.
the matte woven NATOs. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just that straight up sort of horizontal stitch nylon anymore, right? There's a million. I mean, you can get the high gloss super seatbelt ones, or you can get sort of the low maintenance ones, kind of whatever matches. But again, you're probably gonna have to know a little something about their collection to be able to buy that. Though
Yeah. Just a little
those
bit.
though those specific ones will work with most watches. You're just gonna have to do a little investigation as far as lug widths go.
Yeah. That's an easy Google search
Yeah,
these days.
yeah, and I think realistically, if you go with 20, you'll hit a good amount of watches.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's 19 now, there's 21 now, there's 18, 22, but I think most brands will shoot for a 20 lug width now, just for um just the ability to have that easy transition.
Oh yeah. Yes, sir. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Who doesn't love options for straps? And specifically NATO's, those color options that you mentioned, those are some of my favorite color straps for a watch
I mean, there
because they
can't
literally will
miss.
go with everything. They
Yeah,
literally will go with everything. You know, I mean, there's not a strap out there that a moonwatch doesn't look good on, right? There's not a strap out there that a sub wouldn't look good on.
right. Hamilton
There,
khaki.
yeah, it's
Those are the
just
ones I think of that are just super easy to pair.
very easy, very easy. And if you're looking for some inspiration, if you know the watch that person has, Google Hamilton khaki strap options, and literally a million posts will come up of people posting different things. I know that there's been a lot of watch sites that have done like lookbooks and things like that. I know Worn and Wound has done this in the past. Watch Gecko, based in the UK, they've done some stuff in the past as well. I hopefully they'll get their Royal Mail situation kind of ironed out, but there's a lot
Yeah,
of
still
weird
waiting on my
packages
watch
getting
annual.
stuck. Is that what's up with the watch annual too?
Yeah, it's definitely it's in Royal Mail is what it says, and there's like no updates.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if mine comes in. I ordered mine and I didn't spend the extra money for the tracking. So there you go. I'll probably never get it. Such is life. Such is life. But you
Yeah,
know what? There it is. But straps are always a great option, especially something that's universal. And 20 millimeter, like you said, bro, you really can't miss. There's so many watches out there that have 20 millimeters, and you can find something for your friends or your loved ones. No problem.
yeah. So, in the honor of giving gifts with Christmas, Hanukkah, etc. Well, Hanukkah, I think Hanukkah is upon us, but
It is,
Christmas
yeah.
is almost upon us, and just the fun giving time of year. If you don't know what to get that watch nerd in your life, there you go.
I love it.
And
So hopefully this helps.
hopefully this
Hopefully this
helps
helps.
some of the spouses out there.
Yeah. The last minute people, because we're at the airing of this podcast episode of Monday, the Monday before Christmas. So hopefully Amazon Prime can ship you fast. If
That's it.
not, if it comes a little bit after the holidays, I'm sure the watch person in your life will really do and still appreciate the gesture.
Right. And so, let me think. The next drop will be the day after Christmas. So we will talk to you all then on a very special holiday version of Rich Cheese Radio. Until next time, Bro and Schmidt, we will see you then.
Take care.
Bye bye.